Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Are you getting a screen?
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Hey, Tuk Tuk. Hey, Tuk Tuk. You find the one cat lover and then sit on his lap. Is that your plan? Yeah. You don't like that. Is that just yeah. Listening on it.
We'll start shortly once a few more people have arrived. There's a few people downstairs and outside. And if you want to get drunk and start accusing us of stuff, we're welcome to do that. Because that's what tonight's supposed to be about. We're hoping to invite some critics who would really lash out about. But if you drink enough, it's quite possible you might get it.
Are you begging for it?
Yeah. Well, it's because I'm rather comfortable now that we're in an establishment. No one really criticizes us of being a capitalist punks like they used to. Although recently, today, on Facebook, it's flared up a bit. But it's nice to feel like we're back in the seat again.
You're finding the man again.
Yeah. No, just some conversations with people like, corporate puppets getting yeah, me and my Peter Bentley.
Well,
that's a question, isn't it?
Well, obviously in the secret lair. In the secret lair,
in the side of the mountain.
Say the magic word, go down the pipe.
How long are you waiting for this time? I'm not suggesting you roll.
Thunderbirds on those.
Yeah, he's far.
Yeah, he's cool.
She'll be spending some ones as well. She's downstairs chatting to the clan crew. Probably. If we are going to have a Spanish Inquisition, we have to separate.
Yeah.
The boss is in the house.
Yeah. Every house needs the local date, right?
We have more.
It's always better though on the right up tomorrow to say we're standing room only.
True. Yeah.
If more people don't pitch us, let's take a few chairs away.
Black on the
Is that a YouTube live?
Yeah, that's what's on YouTube.
Gregory and Michelle. That's Gregory and Michelle.
I had no idea I'm that fucking involved.
So there's less in here. The attendance is less when it's not a paid or
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. No, just functions. I said the lesson here is that attendance is better when there's a paying bar or something.
No, you know.
It's like you meet for something. I've only had 2 sober verses. I mean, the 2 birds are bad.
It's like, oh my God, I can remember shit. What is this place?
Sober capital.
No, I think every now and then I
Yeah. I mean, like I'll never do alcohol. That's fine. But last year, the crowd was actually or whatever. So Sunday, just people started living out on the beach. Beautiful night we've ever had. Just that night before it started, all of us from the sector just kind of bonded. It's such a beautiful experience. Like I definitely want to have that again, but I have no desire to do drinking and I'm like I've got friends who really want to go to the burn and I don't want to go with them because they drink too much. And so it's like you guys go to the burn and if we see each other, woo! If we don't, that's fine too. Because but when you guys do like drink every night, I'm not done.
you know, go to the bed. Who are you happy with? Okay. No, I want to join you. And then they're like, oh, but I want to go with you.
And the funniest part is the biggest part of the breakup is the few days before and a couple of days after Saturday, like the first part of the burn. The burn sucks. It's like I'm going to the burn in spite of those days. It's like I'm going to live through those days, so I can stay for the Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, so that's what Monday night after. Sunday night.
Yeah, because last
Most of the theme factors and the things are still functioning. Okay, but like because
I saw the fact you did like Tuesday after that, something like that structure, that little tree that was inside the sanctuary. So I went that, and I just looked at those pictures and going, and my FOMO was huge. Okay. So this year I'm coming a week early and I'm leaving 2 days after. The only reason why I'm not leaving Wednesday is because but otherwise, so the only reason why I'm leaving on the Tuesday is
the thing's going well.
It was frantic,
So this year, I
don't think we've got any trolls here.
I did say, you know, if you drink this, if you drink faster, so you can become more furious. Otherwise, we'll have no real critics. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the town hall, all of you thousands of critical community members. We are here to answer your questions or listen to your suggestions. So if you have any, the floor is yours. Unless you'd like us to provide an update on where the event is at right now and give you some inside intel on what lies in store in the next 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, that'd be good.
yeah, that'd be a good start.
Over to you, Mon.
There'll be a plan, there'll be some art, there'll be some noise, there'll be some trolls.
Can Temple burning win?
The big, yeah, we're changing the. Can we turn it down? Because there's a lot lag and I'm hearing
That's right.
So one of the changes we're making this year curatorially is to change the date of the clan burn back to Saturday and the temple back to Sunday. I think it's going to be like that. We had, there were a couple of reasons why we had it on the Friday and Saturday for a couple of years. Temple crew was from Joburg and they wanted to be able to, they needed to leave on Sunday and be able to clean their site. There was also an aspect of us wanting to be able to get the whole vibe of the temple into the consciousness of more people at AfrikaBurn because we usually have a much smaller population on Sunday. And so by having it on Saturday and instituting that silent burn, even though it was really difficult to do, and also placing it in the middle, people have now embodied more that a temple exists and why it's there, and people are using it more kind of in line with that. Whereas in the old days, it was people who'd been to Burning Man who kind of understood that stuff. But yeah, but it's like that. I'm happy that we're changing it back to Sunday. It's definitely going to make the sound ranges' job a lot easier. And it feels more in terms of the like kind of energetic
flow of the week.
I feel, you know, there's a nice like kind of crescendo blowout party on Friday and Saturday, and then like a lovely calm vibe on the Sunday. Whereas when we were shutting the city down with sound on Saturday, it was quite hard work. I'm very proud that we were able to do it all those years. You know, in a city with its taproot and anarchy, to be able to actually shut all the sound systems off and everyone shut the fuck up for a couple of hours, or, you know. So yeah, it was good. Again, you know, we're an experiment. We change every year. Oh, I mean, so we decided to have this with a completely open agenda. So if anyone's got any points that they want to raise, abuse they want to hurl at us, we're very used to that. We're feeling totally uncomfortable because everyone's like,
everyone likes us too much. Don't do it on social media. It doesn't mean anything on social media. Okay. Do it to our faces.
Are you considering making the silent time longer?
We could do, yeah, we have kind of kept it shorter. The thing is that what we usually do is we wait, like, so we had a sound meeting the other night, and they were like, you know, can we not have it in that window, but it also depends on when the structure falls and when you can feel the kind of thing is over, you know. So we can definitely try, and I think it's going to be way easier on a Sunday. I think it'll be a more kind of organic rather.
No, I mean your silent time between 7 and 11.
I see.
Are you thinking of making that period a little longer? Or,
yeah, actually,
because I must say, from my first burn, where I literally became the worst person on the planet to be around by about the Saturday, compared to last year, where I was actually a decent human being still, being able to sleep cannot be overrated enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, so one of the suggestions that actually came out of the sound meeting was actually we should shut the sound off earlier, like at 4 a.m.
My vote.
Yeah.
And that was quite weird because it came from the large sound rooms. So we'll work out some participation on. When you institute kind of things at AfrikaBurn, it's quite difficult to change them year on year.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we think that we're going to keep it 7 till 11, but I think that there will be an earlier shutdown. But my feeling is actually also, I think it might be a colder year because we're slightly later. And that actually also shuts stuff down earlier because everyone wants to go to belly bars. But yeah, we are considering that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a lovely thing, that having the shuttle.
It changed it just changed the overall feeling at the burn because everybody seemed a lot calmer.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, like from my first year in the sanctuary to my second year in the sanctuary, that Sunday night shift from 6 a.m. to from midnight to 6 a.m. Normally it's an absolute madhouse. Whereas this year there were a couple of drums, you just put them to the side, and it was a very quiet shift.
Yeah.
Nice.
And just the whole feeling at walking around was just everybody seemed calm.
Yeah. What we noticed as well, which is really interesting, is that even though the silent period was instituted from Monday to Thursday, 7 to 11, some large sound camps chose to continue that into the weekend on Friday morning and on Saturday morning without any prompting from outside, which is fantastic because if anyone really knows how hard you can work a crew and in the desert, it's the guys who are running a rig 24/7. They rinse themselves by Wednesday already. So they're getting quite smart now. They're starting to realize that they themselves even need to pace themselves. Yeah. Otherwise, their crew will be broken, and that's not fun for anyone, including the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only concern that we have about leaving the Canberra to Saturday night is that a lot of people do leave on Sunday, and with the Karma night being Saturday previously, there's a knock-on effect in terms of the road home and people having had a night's sleep and being a little bit calmer and more rested. But Monday is actually a public holiday, right?
That is, as far as
And so is Wednesday.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Monday's the 6th this year.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
No,
So it's not a public
Yeah,
holiday.
no.
Yeah.
The
It's the previous
Yeah, the
Monday
Wednesday.
and Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Yeah.
and the 8th. The 8th is a public holiday because it's election day.
I think the clan room on Friday just as a backup for weather.
Yeah, it was as well. But also now that we've moved the plan out further. So the plan used to be between in exactly the 12 o'clock position on the clock. Then we moved it a little bit further out, and now we've moved it to the old subterranean position. So that means that our window, it's easier. So our disclaimer on the Canberra change timing wise is that, if we do a weather reading and it's going to be, crazy mad wind in the wrong direction, then we actually will bring it earlier. We might revert it back to Friday. And for that, you just need to listen to Radio Free Tampa and check the latest burn schedule on the boards at Offsetting.
Yeah.
Gregory Haley says, howdy to the Juanita and Chris.
Hi.
Is that all?
What a controversy.
Just so you know, your YouTube is big watching.
Gregory Haley.
I should have put something in the center.
There's a dog.
Occupied.
Come on in.
Any other
Keep
questions?
coming while you got it.
Okay, so we had one at 6 last year. So our camp was
On Stoffeldal
and Prep, I think,
Yes.
out that way. Yeah. So when we left, we believe our camp, obviously we do, was pristine.
Yeah.
But when it was moop swept,
When it was
it
reviewed.
was not.
Right.
But obviously we had left, so we didn't put in any complaints against it. So the couple of things that we were, no, we don't. So which is why we've never put in any.
That's why you took it on the chip.
Yes, exactly. We sort of went, fair enough, we up and left, and that's the way it goes. But a couple of things so one of them was, the one that really matters here is poo in the felt.
Yeah.
I promise you we didn't poo in our back fells. We did not want that right in our back garden. And so that being put on the camp right there is pretty harsh. because yeah, we don't want that in our back garden.
Were you in the bushline?
Yeah.
You were, right. Yeah.
So number one, that's pretty harsh. I mean, yeah. So that just as a comment. And then secondly is what can we as a camp do? So we're talking about like whether we've got enough power, because we're trying to go as solar as we can, whether we've got enough power. To put spotlights out there to try and discourage people. But you know, when you try and run solar, that's really not terribly efficient and whatever. But if anyone's got good ideas or something, because seriously, there are toilets not a whole lot further out there. The toilets were not far away.
And the toilet was good.
And the toilets were fantastic. There
And
was
they're gonna be even
absolutely no reason for it.
I voted for a pellet gun with lights open, but I voted no.
Yeah, I mean, we had our own camping meeting over this topic. You know, so like, you know, what we do about it.
Yeah. I mean,
It was an issue, it really, and it was an issue for us.
Yeah.
Because that was our background.
I know. So two things is that obviously this brings home the message as to why it's that important to have your camp signed off before you leave.
Yeah, we still would have, I mean, because that was over the course of the entire week, people were cracking in our backyard.
Yeah. But the thing is that yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be the second point. But so the first point is that everyone, including the ops team, everyone has to have their camp signed off because of what happens after you leave. You know, a wind sweeps through and someone else hasn't cleaned their thing and shit flies into your camp, and then you get a red rating. It affects your good standing status, and it's just it's a crap scenario.
Yeah.
So how do you organise the sign-up? Because I mean, we were there till Tuesday evening.
And no one had,
Tuesday
you know,
afternoon.
how do we go find someone to sign?
We've sent full instructions to every theme camp as to how to get signed off.
Okay.
Yeah. But we did send it. So if you leave no trace lead on your registration, is it you? Okay. If it's someone you don't know, if you put in a random name, it could have gone to someone who.
No, there's no random.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what I know of your cafe anyway. So, but it is at a time when people are inundated with information. But that's snowball is growing. People understand how important it is to have a camp sign off.
Yeah.
So that because you will leave it in a pristine condition, and they will walk with you, and you can, you know, you can talk about stuff.
I'll give the toss about that.
Oh, we
Because we don't agree with
So we
that.
can pick up someone else's bag of ash that they clearly dumped over the line or whatever was left. But
Exactly.
And I think what you want to do as well as a big camp is get that sign up done on like the Monday.
no, we weren't ready for something.
No.
We were still cleaning.
Yeah, or
So
try
it's
to
like
try to really so that when they come back and say, and that thing and that thing and that thing, but time to.
Yeah, no, well, that's why we would sign
Actually,
it
it's
down on
quite,
Tuesday.
my experience of this year was that Sunday and Monday was ridiculous with sign-ups, and I was doing the sign-ups, so one, two people were running.
Yeah, no, we
So
were.
it actually would have been easier to keep the sign-up done.
Tuesday,
Yeah, but anyway, we have a much bigger sign-off team this year because a lot of people were upset, and we just said we have to sign off. So we've got 2 people who are running the sign-off schedule. So basically, you come to Aotearoa and you go, I'm an hour away from finishing nuclear my site, and they'll get, they get one of the 4 people who are roving and go and meet them at 6X camp, and they will come and they'll do an inspection and they'll give you feedback or they'll give you a rating and tell you why it's that color. And then, I mean, you've read how the rating works.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we were.
So that's
There
all
were 8 of
understandable.
us on Tuesday doing.
Yeah.
Why-
So what did you end up getting? A yellow or what?
Lime
Light
green.
Oh,
we
okay.
went, we went,
You were upset about
No, but we tried really hard to go for
we
like.
were pretty certain this should have been amazing.
Yeah.
No, I know, we sound like the nerds, and we are the nerds.
No, we know it's not.
What happens to the camps that gets green? Red.
Sorry?
What happens to the camps that gets red?
It affects their good standing and placement. So
Yeah.
there's essentially a matrix of right. So you know, there was violence on site because your camp was drunk and fighting. They left a pile of shit or a bag of rotting steaks behind on their site. That gets marked, noted down. Did they have issues with real estate, arguing with their neighbours? That gets noted down by the theme camp crew. All of these come into play.
So the theme camp kind of assessment matrix in terms of like your good standing, because a lot of people, you know, we've instituted that in recent years because of plug and plays, because of just so that we've got a more systematized way of gathering information, because we've got a lot of areas in which we are assessing people. So very often people write in a theme camp registration and it's actually a fucking bullshit story. You know, like they actually just want us to save them a space in the middle of room. We're like, sorry guys, it's not actually a theme camp. You actually have to offer a service or a gift. Then whether they actually rock up and take that space and are open by the Monday and operating as they said that they're going to operate, whether it's an open, inviting space or that they're doing what they say they're going to do, in which case they were deemed a proper theme camp. And then there's the MOOP rating, then there's the plug and play stuff. So there's a whole lot of assessment matrix that we look, and then that equals your good standing. And if someone has like repeatedly, literally like done a bullshit story for 3 years, we're like, sorry guys, you're not a theme camp, you don't get placement. Thanks so much for writing in. Come to the burn anyway, we love you, but you don't get the privilege of Burn space, and you don't get the privilege of like, you know, us spending a lot of time demarcating your space, etc. You know? So that's kind of But then back to the poo story.
Yeah, because that's actually the issue.
Yeah.
The rest was like whatever.
Yeah. I don't quite know how we are ever going to stop people having calibration issues, you know, and they find
really is awful, but like
they find a dark spot, or they're having such a duel that
I don't mind a pee in the bush, but seriously.
No, the people they're taking a lot of there's things going in, you know, and they're like too late to realize okay, it's time to actually start trekking to the loo, and on the way, you know, they drop their rods. So I mean, DPW, it's a total nightmare for them as well. And we have like poo hotspots as well.
Yeah. Back of dance floors that are on the bush line.
Back of dance floors.
Yeah. I don't know what they were doing in our dome, but maybe it was triggering something because I think we were a hotspot.
So I have a new question. So for the first time this year, I'm considering buying one of these portables. But I've never used one before in my camp.
You mean a homemade one, or what?
No.
Ordering a sanitary.
No, those little ones by
The double one.
out the warehouse.
Oh yeah.
Now I read all your articles and I've read about it, and I haven't seen what the feeling is about those. That you buy those chemicals that you.
I have one of those that I use in my water, but I don't put the chemicals in. Do it every morning.
Okay, so that's the chemicals
The thing
are not.
about it is that the top clips off completely,
Yeah.
and then there's a pipe there that's screwed closed, right? So you don't ever have to touch anything. Take the top off, take the bottom, you carry it to the loo, you twist the pipe, you unscrew the thing, you empty it, you twist the pipe up, you screw it closed. That's it. Just don't use the chemical.
Because the second question was, I read about the fancy liquid you use in your new loos. Is that available?
Yeah.
To use.
Yeah, and you can put that in that water.
Yeah. We do hand it out at the gate on arrival. You can get it from our gate crew. So, for example, if you're arriving in a motorhome, a camper van that has a chemical toilet in it already, those people are often the culprits of either dumping what they call black water on the desert floor, or else they'll get off site and they'll try and dump it in a river course next to the road, which has happened in the past, which really pisses off farmers in the Tankwa. So we are happy to supply the sachets of the same liquid to people who arrive with chemical toilets. The problem arises, well, it's a problem, but it's a challenge. We would have to pump those toilets on arrival into a separate container so that we can take the disposal of that in a municipal wastewater dumping system, like in Ceres or Calvinia with their permission, which is not really a massive volume of those kind of things happening so far, but we can see that will become an eventuality. So the same. What's it green? So it is
So I can buy it locally.
You can buy it locally. I think it's called Supreme. Just check with me on exactly that. I can send you a link.
And then that's fine to dispose of in your new
because it's the same treatment. It's essentially it's fruit oils and a enzyme an active enzyme that breaks things down in an anaerobic manner.
And it's designed to put a film on top. That's why the smell.
That's what the
Scenarios,
oils do, the
yeah,
fruit
the oils.
oils. They prevent evaporation and the gases from escaping from the
The waste.
IBCs, intermediary bulk containers. What's the other name?
Schmancy.
Yeah, that's the name. How's it, man? So that the smell and the gases and the flies, for that matter, they can't get in because there's a layer of oil on top of everything, which is not conducive to the larvae.
The loose, the general loose, you said it's going to change this year.
They're the same units as the ones we built and rolled out for the first time last year.
They're going to be the same units. They're going to be better serviced.
Yeah.
We had an issue with our servicing of them
The
last year.
pumping of them was a
Pumping turned into a nightmare.
Yeah.
Last 3
You don't
days
put
was
wine
fine.
bottles in
So
the toilet.
I thought it was Gucci handbags.
Gucci handbags and cell phones.
T-shirts, cell phones, knives, shoes, hats, scarves, bottles, all
There
sorts
was
of crap which ruins our pumps.
Someone
Keep
threw
just in
a
barrels.
handbag with food in it into the toilet.
Yeah.
and these days,
Sorry, someone just dumped it.
Someone took food in a handbag and threw it in the toilet.
Not a fancy handbag too.
It was a strange handbag.
It's Sparkle Party handbag.
you mustn't use it.
Of course we did.
I vomited a little in my mouth.
Did you have like Christmas?
Yes, that bomb, I love you.
Just a suggestion on the design of those loops. If you go there and you're breaking records, the liquid is quite high. It tends to make droplets upwards.
That's a consequence of us not being able to pump those as frequently as we want to. So what we do is we have a 4x4 forklift on site, trained forklift operators on our crew. And they then go and they'll remove the full units and then replace them if they can't be pumped for some reason, because the pump has to do the rounds. But if there's an emergency area where we have high concentration of camping and there's a high volume of this deposit going on, and we're aware of the issue, but it was our first round last time. We learned a hell of a lot in the last round, and we're definitely going to be improving on the levels at which things are pumped or moved.
Just a simple suggestion on the design, but I think can actually tried this, on some of them maybe. It's just a plastic sheet that just cuts the line of the droplets coming up. So whatever falls down shifts underneath the.
Like you have those plastic hinged.
Whatever, it doesn't even have to move.
Barriers, for lack of a better word. It's very technical.
Another interesting thing, what you might want to do is just have a little lever on the side where you shuffle it back and forth and you'll move the bin back and forth a little bit. And then shift the deposits so that it isn't like a triangle pyramid coming up. You actually spread it underneath the leg.
Well, I actually said, I said something about that. The CPW that does that every morning is actually the function.
They've got glue sticks.
We've got literally a glue stick that goes in and it all around.
Should still.
But if you have it so that you've got a stick on the side that just makes the whole barrel underneath go back and forth, you can actually let the burners themselves shock a little bit before they start. Before they start, just a little bit before they start.
The problem with mechanics is something that can break.
I
just think one static street that's just statically fixed and just prevent the solids and liquids from dropping straight down and creating droplets upwards. If you look at your canister that's like that, it's here, and it just push the solids and liquids underneath the top. Yes, I'll do that. I'll send it in.
But okay, just as a question, what stops solid stuff from actually sitting in that chute?
Well, if you angle it with the right angle, it should drop down, unless it's sticky.
It comes in all kinds.
It does, but I mean,
You know what you're going to do is you're going to send us a drawing. We're going to do one tester and we're going to see if it works.
Oh god.
Shotgun not being the person who takes it.
No, we're all up for experimenting, but do bring your ideas. We can
I'll send you an email.
Send it to me or afterwards.
No.
Okay, cool.
And the
other thing,
I have a pre-discussion with someone.
it's important to do. we're gonna we're also gonna have the toilets in a different configuration this year. They're gonna be banks of 4 facing outwards like that.
Another thing.
Will we not be able to talk to our neighbours anymore?
No, if you're talking about them, then you're actually going to be a lot
Someone
closer.
behind you.
There'll be somebody behind you.
Pass the toilet.
Another thing, the male urinals is maybe working well.
We do actually have some. They were not rolled out last year. They were not quite ready, but there are 4 urinals that are mounted onto the same one cube block.
Yeah, because
So there's a small step, and you step up, and then
young men can't take in the
yeah. Well, to reduce the volume of liquid going into all the other toilets, it makes a lot of sense, especially at dance floors, to place a few of those out there so that people aren't going into the bushes. You know.
Tell me, are these portions going to be on the anything again?
No. We're not doing any portaloos anymore.
At all?
At all.
No more plastic. Those will be the very few.
No, it's just for the disabled units. Yeah. So what we do is have disabled people call us, and then we will place a toilet close to their camp or in their camp. So yeah.
What's to stop everybody else using the disabled units?
They get a lot.
They get a lot. Combination of
So, can you get some money?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest, I don't like it. I'm happy to be on the one side.
Yeah, but only one person uses that every hour or so in March.
Yeah. You want to keep it so.
Is it not up to each one? Is it not up to the person who's using the toilet to leave the toilet in a better condition than what?
Well, we can only hope so, but you know, humans.
And also sometimes the humans are not in a good condition.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're barely humaning themselves.
Guys? No one wants to call us capitalist bastards.
Come on.
We do that on Facebook, but we don't have to see the face.
Thank you.
I thought that was already on this whole thing in Berlin, but was on the computer.
You mean on the environmental impact discussion?
Yeah, just everything about the Berlin Man and what was originally released today. And there was some article on it.
Yeah.
My IT skills are not that great.
No, we know what you're talking about.
The cultural repositioning.
That is what I was.
Burning Man are doing the best they can to try and claw back some of the territory from what has become a monster of an event. I mean, they were like at 78,000 last year. So that's a lot of people. And what happened to them is from 2001 to 2010, they grew from something like 15,000 to 45,000. And in the process, they got a lot of people who are very wealthy sponsoring or becoming patrons of very large projects, other artworks and moving vehicles. And that meant that they had to accommodate certain large camps for which services are required because they're so vast. And that's where all the millionaires live.
And it becomes like a plug and play.
Yeah, that's exactly the territory. So we had the benefit of this being able to watch, whilst we've been growing from 1,000 in 2007 to where we are now, watching Burning Man's progression through much higher numbers and seeing how size has influenced the decisions that they've taken and where they've tripped themselves up and not. So we haven't had to necessarily repeat the mistakes that they've made. We've been given the foresight of them making mistakes far in advance of us. So we can now claw back against plug and play, which we've done quite successfully. From 3 years ago already, banning a couple of private hotel operators and making sure that they can't do that thing again. They can't make another theme camp of that nature. They can come back to the event, but they certainly can't run a camp because we know that they'll try and make money. You know? So we have the benefit of looking at that example and being able to head those problems off at the pass before they become too big for us to handle.
And in fact, Burning Man wanted to know what the policies that we were doing, and we were the first regional to actually ban people for doing plug and plays from our event, which has been a long and hard process because you've got to get all your ducks in a row. And they were like, well, what do you do? And we're like, we just ban people. And I mean, the interesting thing is that I think to a degree what it's done is it's pushing plug-and-play operations underground. So likely with if an event of our size, probably we have about, between 11 and 12,000 people this year, is that we are still able to walk the site and keep looking in the non-registered areas, in the free camping, to see where there are operators. And so we've got a new kind of, not portfolio, but a new kind of job description, which is campsite managers, and that's people looking for that kind of operation, so that we can start working out how to intervene on that level too. So we'll see what happens this year with that. Because definitely in terms of our registered camps, it's having the desired effect. We've still got some people who are struggling with, there's the spectrum, and a lot of people interpret luxury with plug and play. And so very often you get earlier than now people walking to someone's camp, you're a fucking plug and play. And they're like, no, it's luxury that we generated ourselves. So you can have a luxurious experience. You just got to generate it yourself with your own people, You got
to build it yourself, right?
It's the outsourcing of stuff that is not okay. And the service, and the service mentality that's not okay, which kind of just erodes our ethos and our culture and what we're there to do,
All the companies that come in with the guys that put up the stretch tents.
So that's
all the guys are still going to be fed and maintained.
Yeah.
There's a legality surrounding the erection of very large stretch tents. They have to be signed off by an engineer and they have to be erected by a professional crew because they're actually dangerous to put up if you don't know what you're doing. That's the accommodation for that specific kind of service. So, for example, you and I might be able to hammer some rebar into the ground for a 10 by 10 stretch, but when it hits 20 by 20, it's a far bigger proposition. It has to be put in very properly, otherwise it becomes a dangerous structure that can hurt people when the wind rises.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a concern.
That's a legal requirement. In the Events Act is anything over 100 meters square has to be engineered. Blah blah blah. Has to be signed off. But it is a difficult one. I mean, like I have had moments where I just think, well, then we just shouldn't have anything larger than 100 meters square, actually. Yeah. Because anyone can. In the early days of AfrikaBurn, none of us knew how to erect a stretch tent. And you know what? We fucking learned. We just learned how to do it. We didn't know how to get rebar into that ground. We learned how to do it. Only when in 2010, when the 2010 World Cup, and then all this new legislation got instituted, did we have to institute that, that rule. And certainly it is safer, but it is the service mentality which slips in, and that has been the kind of like thin end of the fat wedge. That has, you plug and play. So what we also do now is we communicate very distinctly with the actual tenting companies and anyone else who's providing services. So it's it's interesting for us because we, the taproot of this event is in anarchy, and we're ending up being an establishment and having to put more and more controls. So as you guys know, the supplier gate, and very often when we see it's the supply process is actually like an early warning system as well. You see a huge truck coming in from an events company and it's got couches and puffs and lighting and and you start going, no, what are you delivering for? What's going on? And so, and it's crap for us having to be the cops now. It's really crap. I mean, like the irony of like wanting to do this thing that opens up people's creativity and inspiration and like areas of their life, but they never, and you like fucking watching people and being what you do, and it's for us. But I mean,
it is. Sorry, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's something that's been created that is successful, and it's grown, and you're dealing with like the supply and demand.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only been there like 6-7 years, but the international side of it is growing hugely, which is great. It's still location like keeps the numbers down, but it's that demand coming in with nothing.
Yeah,
that's right. That's supply and demand for that kind of camp.
But the thing is that I actually don't buy that because I've gone to America with the weak rent and no buying power, and managed to beg, borrow, and steal all the equipment that I needed to be able to go to Burning Man. And I've done it, you know, 6 times, whatever.
But they come in from the other side.
And everyone's going like, oh, well, you know, I'm international, I can't bring my sleeping bag with me. And I'm like, that's your fucking plan. You know?
But they can join the theme from conduct.
Exactly.
They should. Yes.
And
So one of the interesting things we had so the company that we're renting our stretch tent from also rent dome tents. So we were like, hey, that's fantastic. So this time our foreigners have been flying in and buying really, really cheap and nasty little shitty tents, which, whatever, they actually do just fine, so long as the wind doesn't blow too badly and the rain doesn't come down too heavily. And then they just give them on, which is actually, it's kind of great, actually. But they're not fantastic. So this company will now, and they're really, really cheap, so wow. But this company are like, and we will erect the dome tents for you. And we're like, no, I don't think you will.
What's the company's name?
Actually, yeah. So we've actually gone back and said, no, you will erect the stretch tent because you are required to do that. But no, you will not. Everybody's dome tent, yeah.
No. We've got it in our rules for the tent companies is that anything that can be put up by 1 or 2 people may not be put up. You may not.
No legal reason.
You may not roll out a carpet. You may not hang a light. You may not do a thing. Put up a big stretch tent, and generators over a certain size as well. You can do. The rest, no hot showers, none of that. Fuck that. It's not allowed.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do it. I mean, people. There's this thing where they think the radical self-reliance is phoning a supplier and getting it, and that's not. So we constantly browbeating. I mean, like I've literally had about 10 face-to-face meetings with people who just don't get it. And I'm like, do you not understand? And I'm like, no, but we need showers. And I'm like, yes, I know. So when I get to the desert, I build my own shower. I get a bag, I've got some wood, and I stack the bits and pieces together, and I've got a pallet, and then I staple down some fabric around. Yeah. You want me to explain a game?
Have you heard of the birthday suits? I can show you on the map where they are.
A potential grey area that I've seen increase of late is that people introduce the concept of camp and angels, or whatever the fuck they want to call it. Is where a certain part or a certain delegation within a theme camp pays a whole lot of money and contributes financially way more to the theme camp in return. They don't have to, for example, cook or wash the dishes or whatever, and then the people who pay less to be part of the camp end up like, okay, now this is your job because you know.
That's a new one. All right, thank you. That. Screw that.
No. Just no.
Yeah, I know. It's a. I've seen.
Slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it happen at Burning Man a lot. And I mean, the one year, for example, at Burning Man, there was a guy in our camp who desperately wanted a ticket and was absolutely flat broke, and he was a great cook. And he just said, if everyone chips in to buy me a ticket, I'm going to come and run the kitchen. And I was like, let's just buy you a ticket anyway. But he really wanted to do that. So for me, when we discuss, and again, it's the thin end of a big wedge, blah, 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 that whole story. And there's always a spectrum. The foundational stuff for me, when I've been thinking about it philosophically, is that however you arrange yourselves amongst yourselves, relationship should be the foundation. So learning, so you might have a collective of people, and actually someone knows how to do electrics, and someone is really good at putting up the thing, and someone is good at the camping, at running the kitchen and that kind of stuff. And maybe some people, and someone might be shit fucking rich and actually does buy, pay for a huge chunk of this and that. And sometimes people go, you know what, it's been such a privilege to have all that money come in. Let him not have to wash the dishes that day. but it does end up becoming kind of formalized into this kind of like division of labor and paid people. Well, it has the potential to do that.
It's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how to. I don't think that we can police that too much, but we can describe it and go, guys, police when it flips for you, because that's not cool. I mean, because there's a couple of things: how you arrange yourselves internally, and how much you're actually gifting to the broader community of the event. If you're giving a gift to Taco Town, and so very often we're looking at those different elements when we get told about a potential dodgy camp or whatever. Some people will very often, what's the word? Justify, yes, exactly. Justify their bending of those rules for the sheer volume of the gift that they're giving to Taco Town.
It's an offset kind of mentality.
Yeah, it is an offset mentality. And that's very often our most difficult scenario to deal with. And the ones that take the most meetings for us. We just have meetings and meetings. Yeah, face to face.
We have a question that's been fielded from Mr. Gregory Haley Jackson. Any update on purchasing land for future burn?
I want to show him that.
Unfortunately, we can't point the camera at that way.
So, I mean, everyone here knows that we've been exploring buying land for AfrikaBurn. Yeah. Yes, no, maybe? Yeah. We've looked around the Takwa a hell of a lot, and a lot of beautiful spaces. And we are down to one potential farm and then a potential subdivision of Stonehenge where we currently are. It's in process, but it's in frustrating, slow, and difficult process.
Very big decision.
It's very
you can't
big,
make it quickly. We have to do a lot of research, homework, and surveying and reviewing, and it's not a decision we take lightly. So we have to really be thorough with every fine detail.
So currently, the potential other farm, which is only 5 km away from where Stonehenge is, has got exactly the same views. So it's very pretty. Like you'll feel at home there. However, the substrate is not shale; it's gypsum, which has a potential. In terms of putting 14,000 people on the site, the impact, it's much softer. But the lovely thing about getting your stuff into shale is that when the wind blows, it stays there.
And
but also in terms
of
should you just take over? The potential impact of having 14,000 people on that site is it might not recover as Stony does, because Stony is so hard and it gets this massive water through it every year, which cleans the space beautifully. And so we're going up hopefully the soil scientists next week, and we'll have a report on that pretty soon. Yeah.
Should you not do one test year at that site, rent it for the year?
Yeah, I mean,
because you're never going to know what's going to happen until you actually have a big burn there.
I almost feel like we'll make that. I mean, it's a good point, but we'll make that decision once we get the report from the soil scientist. Because if he goes,
fair enough.
Then it's not worth doing the tests.
Yeah. You'll never actually know, even though you do tests, you'll never know what's going to happen.
Well, it might be an idea to do almost like a mini burn, like have like a 5,000 burn.
He just wants
I just want another burn.
Are you going to organize it? Awesome.
We'll come in and have some rebar and see how it
For a
happens.
salary, I could be persuaded. I definitely, I could.
It's a good question, but importantly, there's something to consider. And there's something that we have to look at now if we were going to be moving in this cycle. We have a pretty large storage depot with a whole lot of containers and a whole lot of vehicles and a whole lot of materials, streetlights, wood, toilets, containers. It's a massive amount of haulage, and that would have to go with us. So it's not like we can lightly move. Just the people arriving. There is the invisible infrastructure which has to go in be plonked down for 11 months of the year, pulled out for usage for 1 month and then put away again.
But what he's saying, if you have like a small burn with 1,000 people,
it's not a bad idea. A test burn,
a test burn, just to get an idea, because you never really know until you have enough people there and see.
Because you need to have a whole bunch of people there willing to put their stuff in self-sustain and see what happens with the window.
Yeah, November's good for us. Just saying.
November's fucking brutal out there.
I don't think I want to go to the desert in the summer.
I mean, listen, so we have put some really long rebar there. It would we would have to innovate on anchoring. We'd have to work out, everyone would have to learn new rules in terms of anchoring their tents and their structures and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, there's an aspect which doesn't just go into normal environmental impact considerations, and that is that the space we're in has to be beautiful. And if it turns into this fat, dusty sand pit, it's not going to be beautiful, and it's not going to be conducive to riding bikes. It's not going to be,
it's not,
the view of it is, you're not going to have this pristine kind of surface and a beautiful structure sticking out of it. You're going to have a fucked up surface, basically.
What would be the holding of the rebar within the new?
Well, that's the question.
Longer rebar.
Anchoring systems would have to be considered.
System,
but importantly, if you've got a soft substrate, big and heavy mutant vehicles, they're going to leave deep tracks.
Yeah.
If it rains, even more so. And I've been in a situation in Burning Man where it rained heavily while we were in the gate queue. They stopped every single thing from moving for like 11 hours. We were stuck for 11 hours because you have to wait for the mud to dry so that you can walk on it. Because if you walk on it, it's turned into platform boots within 10 steps, and no vehicle can go anywhere because it'll get platform tires in 10 meters, and then you've got this deep gouge that's like irreparable. So leaving a trace in that manner is something you've got to take proper consideration for.
What's the reason why you want to move the site maybe?
It's not necessarily large enough for us to be able to place things the way we want. We're presently restricted in that formation there behind Benjamin. That's described originally by concentric circles mimicking the clock hours, which then, as we expanded, were restricted by the flash flood zones. So if there was another site where we could start to actually plan our urban settlement in a better manner, that would be very helpful.
I was wondering why load shedding was late.
3 minutes later.
Yeah, so it's different. It's the limitations of the site. Just so that you know, we are hooked up to our solar panels outside.
Very schwanky.
And that's the irritating UPS beeping. Yeah, so it's the limitations of that site. It's very difficult to have to reschedule burns constantly for the fact that,